Hey guys, welcome back to UDCYD. In today's video, we'll cover CIF and CFR. If you're asking yourself what are all these terms, go to my first video titled Incoterms and you should get the gist of it. These are terms used in international shipping when you import or export goods. So what does CIF stand for in international shipping? It basically means cost, insurance and freight, whereas CFR is just cost and freight. CIF usually covers three factors such as freight cost, risk transfer and insurance. Under the CIF agreement, the freight costs are the seller's obligations. The seller is then obliged to deliver the goods to the destination port mentioned in the contract, either written or verbally, and pay the related costs. So in the scenario between CIF and CFR, the risk can take place when the goods board the vessel. So it could be a ship, it could be a plane, etc. And this is where the most damage or loss of a shipment occurs. So the seller is then also obliged to cover the insurance. And in this case, it's a little tricky because the seller can then buy the minimum standard insurance, so it doesn't really protect the buyer's goods against loss or damage. So in this case, the buyer would need to buy more insurance for protection, and he would have to bear the cost. For example, if it's a high value product, it's best not to leave it up to the supplier to buy your insurance, and you should do it on your own accord. So in what case scenario would you use CIF? So let's say, for example, you've created a novel and you have 1,000 books and you don't need much storage space on a ship, and it's much cheaper. So you will get an LCL, which is lower container load, and ask the supplier to use CIF because it is the safer option if you know nothing about international shipping. So in this case scenario, you don't want your books to get damaged, so you will start at the beginning. You will ask the seller to make sure he properly packages your goods, your books, in bubble wrap, for example, or plastics and whatnot. So if any liquid or anything goes inside your boxes, your books are safe. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't buy extra insurance, and in this case you would have to buy extra insurance to make sure that your goods are protected, that if any damage occurs, you are covered. Another example could be, let's say you buy t-shirts, for example, and you buy 3 boxes, and the quickest way to get them to you is via air freight, and the seller can recommend DHL or FedEx or UPS, for example, and they can say, okay, under this agreement, because they're not much goods, I will use CIF. So again, in this scenario, CIF is cost, insurance and freight. The buyer is responsible to purchase more insurance because the seller has only purchased the minimum insurance. So at the end of the day, the seller's responsibilities or costs end at the export port and include export customs, freight and insurance. The buyer's costs begin at the destination port, which include import customs, transportation to their warehouse or desired destination, and the risk again then transfers onto the buyer when the goods are on the export ship. So the minute the goods leave the seller's hands, the risk is on the buyer. That's why it's very important to make sure you're covered with a good insurance. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you for listening and see you next time.